In the theater of American politics, few venues command as much attention or carry as much weight as the Senate Judiciary Committee. Here, the stakes are high, the players are seasoned, and the consequences ripple far beyond the walls of the Capitol. Few stages are as consequential as a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, where the nation's most pressing legal and ethical questions are debated, and the future direction of American justice is often decided. On October 7, 2025, the spotlight fell on two formidable figures: Attorney General Pam Bondi, a fierce Trump loyalist with a reputation for taking on political adversaries head-on, and Senator Richard Blumenthal, a meticulous Democratic watchdog known for his relentless pursuit of accountability and his deep commitment to the rule of law. Bondi, never one to shy away from controversy, had built her career on tough rhetoric and bold promises. As the nation's top law enforcement officer, she vowed to restore law and order, echoing the priorities of the Trump administration and energizing her supporters. Blumenthal, a former Connecticut Attorney General, had spent decades building a reputation for integrity, government ethics, and a willingness to challenge those in power, no matter how daunting the opposition. He became a leading voice in challenging the Trump administration, questioning its actions and holding officials to account in high-profile hearings and public forums. The hearing, though officially billed as routine oversight, quickly revealed itself to be anything but. The atmosphere was charged, the room divided, and the sense of deep partisan distrust was palpable. Democrats voiced fears that the Justice Department was being transformed into a political weapon, its independence threatened by partisan influence and executive overreach. Meanwhile, Republicans rallied behind Bondi, seeing her as a much-needed corrective to what they viewed as years of bias and overreach by previous administrations. This was more than a policy debate. It was a high-stakes battle for the very soul of the Department of Justice, with each side convinced that the future of American democracy hung in the balance. Tensions peaked when Senator Blumenthal zeroed in on the Justice Department's decision to drop a lawsuit involving American Express global business travel. He pressed Bondi about her ties to Ballard Partners, her former lobbying firm, and whether she'd discussed the case with Brian Ballard, a Trump ally. The implication: was Bondi's decision influenced by her past connections? Blumenthal's questions were sharp, aiming to expose any conflict of interest. For Bondi, this was more than oversight. It was a personal attack. She bristled, seeing the inquiry as a smear on her integrity. Instead of answering, she prepared to strike back. The stage was set for confrontation. When Senator Blumenthal pressed Pam Bondi with a pointed question, she didn't answer directly. Instead, she paused, her expression unreadable, letting the tension in the room build. The silence was heavy, and all eyes were on her, waiting for a response. But rather than play defense, Bondi seized the moment and went on the offensive, shifting the energy in the chamber. She turned the tables, accusing Blumenthal of hypocrisy. With a steady voice, she referenced his own controversial past, specifically, his misstatements about serving in Vietnam, a topic that had haunted his career for years. "Senator, you lied about your military service," she declared, her words echoing through the chamber and instantly silencing the room. The impact was immediate. Her boldness caught everyone off guard. Bondi's attack was no accident. It was a calculated move, designed to undermine her accuser's credibility and shift the spotlight away from herself. She knew exactly what she was doing. Drawing on her long record as a career prosecutor, Bondi wrapped herself in her professional achievements. She insisted her integrity was beyond reproach, reminding the committee of her years spent upholding the law and fighting for justice. "Don't you ever challenge my integrity," she warned, her voice unwavering. With that, she made it clear that her past with Ballard Partners was off-limits, drawing a firm line in the sand. The hearing, which had started as a discussion of policy, suddenly shifted into a personal drama. The atmosphere in the room changed, as senators and spectators alike realized the stakes had just been raised. Bondi's counterattack stunned the committee. In a matter of moments, she had reframed the entire narrative, putting her accuser on the defensive and asserting her own authority. the nation's top law enforcement officer had demonstrated how quickly defense can become offense in the high-stakes world of Washington hearings. As the dust settled, the committee was left reeling, forced to reconsider not just the facts, but the power of a well-timed counteroffensive. Bondi's accusation reopened a painful chapter from Blumenthal's 2010 campaign, when he was criticized for misstating his military service. Though he served honorably in the Marine Corps Reserve, he never saw combat in Vietnam. The controversy nearly derailed his campaign, but he publicly apologized and clarified his record. Connecticut voters forgave him, but the episode left a lasting mark. By invoking it, Bondi wasn't just reminding the public of a past mistake. She was questioning Blumenthal's moral authority, her message. How can someone with a tainted record judge my ethics? It was a strategic move, shifting scrutiny away from her own actions. The hearing's focus had been dramatically altered. Bondi's defense was built on righteous anger and her career as a prosecutor. She framed Blumenthal's questions as a political attack, not legitimate oversight. Her emotional response, "How dare you?" was meant to project strength and victimhood. Bondi argued her record placed her above suspicion, rejecting the premise of the inquiry. She used a classic tactic, attack the accuser instead of addressing the accusation. For her supporters, it was a powerful show of dominance. The real issue, her ties to Ballard Partners, remained unaddressed. The hearing became a contest of character, not facts. After Bondi's pointed attack, Senator Richard Blumenthal responded with a calm and steady resolve that set the tone for the rest of the hearing. He did not allow the heated rhetoric to rattle him, instead taking a measured breath before addressing the room. The atmosphere was tense, but Blumenthal's composure was unwavering, signaling to everyone present that he intended to rise above the fray. He openly acknowledged his past misstatements about his military service, reiterating his apology with sincerity. Blumenthal made it clear that he took responsibility for his words, expressing regret for any confusion or hurt they may have caused. He emphasized that he had already apologized publicly and privately, and that he was committed to honesty and transparency moving forward. Refusing to escalate the confrontation, Blumenthal instead redirected the hearing back to its original purpose. He reminded his colleagues that the focus should remain on the issues at hand, not on personal attacks or political theater. He argued that Bondi's personal attack was a deliberate diversion from the real issue, potential conflicts of interest within the Justice Department. Blumenthal insisted that the committee's responsibility was to investigate these concerns thoroughly, rather than be sidetracked by personal grievances. The American people deserve answers, he insisted, his voice firm and unwavering. He stressed the critical importance of oversight, reminding the committee that their duty was to seek the truth and ensure accountability at the highest levels of government. Blumenthal's measured tone and steady demeanor stood in stark contrast to Bondi's outrage. While emotions ran high, he remained focused, refusing to be drawn into a shouting match or personal feud. He urged the committee to focus on substance, not spectacle, calling for order and reminding everyone of the gravity of their responsibilities. The hearing, he argued, was fundamentally about accountability, not about revisiting personal history or scoring political points. Blumenthal called for a renewed commitment to transparency and ethical governance. His response was more than just a defense. It was a plea for open government and a transparent process, urging his colleagues to put the public interest above all else. For a moment, the spotlight shifted back to the real, unanswered questions facing the committee, reminding everyone that the pursuit of truth and accountability must remain at the heart of their work. The Bondi-Blumenthal clash was a microcosm of a larger battle over the Justice Department's future. Democrats accused Bondi of weaponizing the DOJ to protect Trump and punish opponents. They cited controversial indictments, mass firings, and the disbanding of key investigative units. Republicans countered that Bondi was cleaning up a department corrupted by the previous administration. Both sides saw themselves as defending justice, each convinced the other was destroying it. The hearing exposed a government divided not just by policy, but by reality itself. Truth had become a partisan battleground. This hearing was more than a personal feud. It was a sign of eroding norms in American governance. In the past, officials were expected to answer tough questions. Bondi's refusal marked a new low. Her personal attack on Blumenthal derailed the hearing and shifted the media narrative. The public discourse grew coarser, and real debate became nearly impossible. The hearing spotlighted fears about the Justice Department's independence. Democrats saw Bondi as proof of politicization. Republicans saw her as a reformer. The divide over the DOJ's role is now a defining conflict. The confrontation's echoes will linger, highlighting just how fractured the nation has become. What can we learn from this showdown? In today's politics, a dramatic counterattack often trumps a factual defense. Bondi's performance shifted the narrative from oversight to personal drama. The hearing revealed how easily accountability can be evaded in a hyper-partisan world. For citizens, the lesson is clear. Look past theatrics and demand real answers. Media literacy and critical thinking are more essential than ever. The Bondi-Blumenthal clash is a warning about the dangers of polarization. When politics becomes a battle of character attacks, civil discourse crumbles. Unless respect and good faith are restored, the very institutions meant to serve us all are at risk.